I want to talk to you about Mesh for Teams. It's one of my favorite topics at the moment. And I want to do the session like some kind of a storytelling. So I want to tell a little bit about myself and how I was dealing during the past 2.5 years or so. And I want to share my experience and then go there and tell how I'm thinking Mesh for Teams will help us in the future. So, as I'm telling a story about myself, so maybe you need to know a little bit about myself. I'm from Germany, so that was our intro about waking up early. I know that for you, we are quite close to lunchtime. Um, and I'm working as a managing consultant. So I have to do some consulting on an internal way in my companies, and I tell everybody how cool Microsoft 365 is and what we can build with this stuff. I'm doing business development, and because that's my background, I'm a software developer. I love to build new stuff, and I'm a Microsoft girl. Uh, since ever, I would say. So that's quite clear. I started with SharePoint. I was doing .NET development, and nowadays I really love to build Teams apps, to build some stuff on the Power Platform. And as I said, I'm seeing myself a little bit like a workplace technology scout. So I check out everything what's new, and then I want to find out if we can do something to improve our daily business. And as you can see here, I always like to tell a little bit about my private life. Yes, I'm doing a lot of sessions because I'm an VP, but if there's time, I love traveling and I love fantasy stuff. So a lot of the Rings, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Hunger Games, and so on. I love all this stuff. And when I'm traveling, then I want to see where the films or the series are made. And for example, I've been in New Zealand to see how Lord of the Rings was made, and then I was doing bungee jumping and so crazy stuff. So that's when I'm not doing Microsoft stuff. I'm doing this one. If you want to stay in contact with me later on, here is my Twitter and my LinkedIn QR code. And as you can see here, I brought my favorite hashtags with me. So if you are interested in modern workplace or Microsoft Teams, Power Platform, or a mix of all this, then you will find a lot of posts and tweets from me. So, but let's dive into the topic. So if we think about collaboration, because I want to go with you to the next level of collaboration, we need to talk about collaboration itself first. What do we need to collaborate with each other? My first thought is I need other people, because collaborating with myself is a little bit weird. So I need teams, not the tool. I need a group of people, and we need to find out how we want to collaborate with each other. Most collaboration time, I would say, is that we need to communicate in a way, and the easiest way is that we meet each other. So we are doing Teams meetings, or we are meeting in the same location. And that was something which has changed in the past years for me. So if I think back 5 years or so, when I was thinking about a meeting, it was 100% clear that I have to go to the office, that I will meet the people in a meeting room. And if a person was sick or was not in the office, then that was really special, that there was a person who was calling us, and we didn't use stuff like video conferencing tools or so. So this person was calling, the phone in the room was ringing, and then the other person was there. we were talking with each other, and nearly after 5 minutes, we forgot that there is another person as us in the meeting room. But it was important for this person because she or he was not able to attend the meeting in person. But it's important for collaboration. Yeah, and we are very close to the buzzword devices here also, because if we want to collaborate with each other, then everything else as talking to each other in person needs a device. So at this moment, for example, we are using a Teams meeting for this event, and I need a PC or smartphone or tablet. I want to share my screen, so it's better when I go with the notebook, but I would be able to use any other device to attend a meeting. If you are looking for something else than meetings, and we want to chat or to um, share information, then I would also need a device. And then it depends which device is better. And I'll think back about my idea with the meeting, that we had a phone, it was ringing, and the person was not visible for us in a way in this meeting. Hmm, It can be important to have the correct devices also in meeting rooms, so we can talk to each other and we see each other. That's really important, because otherwise you will not be a bad person when you forget this the other person who's not visible, but it happens during a conversation, because we are trained to look into the eyes of the other person, and if there's nobody, then it's really hard, and maybe you will talk to a person who you can see instead of the person who is only a phone symbol in your room. Yeah, and locations is also quite important. So think about that you want to collaborate with other people, and you're sitting at the airport, and yes, you have a device. You can join a meeting, but it's so loud around you that it doesn't really feel comfortable to join the meeting and to get information or share information with others. So if you are talking about locations, it's quite important if I'm really busy and I'm traveling everywhere, or if I'm a person who's working from home. I'm not going to the office, and then uh, I need to feel integrated into the team. I need to have the same chance to collaborate with other people. So this can be quite hard, and we have to think about that each of these bullet points needs to be considered for collaboration. And we have Microsoft 365. As I said, I'm a Microsoft girl. Microsoft 365 offers a lot of stuff. I also mentioned Microsoft Teams, but there's so much more. So think about it, that you want to share information. Maybe you are using SharePoint already beside Microsoft Teams to store a lot of documents, or you build your intranet on this. That's also part of your collaboration environment. And maybe you are going with Planner for task management and so on. So there are really cool apps and services in Microsoft 365 which can be used by you to support your daily business and to support the daily business of your teams you are working in. Yeah, and if I think about Microsoft Teams now in detail, Microsoft Teams is my central entry point for collaboration. So think back again many years. So Teams is now 6 years old. So we need to go back 7 or 10 years. You can choose. In these days, my favorite, I'm not sure if it's favorite, but it was the most used application was Microsoft Outlook. So I got a lot of emails from my customers, but also internal emails. And internal emails, I'm not sure how you are dealing with. I was hating them because one person wrote an email and she sent it to 10 people, and then everybody was answering, and I didn't know, okay, is this a thread like in a community or so, or is it different conversations after a few emails, because this group of people is talking about a separate subtopic at the other group of people, but everyone is a recipient of these emails. And do I need to do anything? I didn't get an idea about this. But 10 years ago, Microsoft Outlook was the tool to be used if you want to communicate with other people in an asynchronous way. Yes, there were chat tools beside this. So Microsoft Teams is not the first chat tool in the Microsoft world. We had Microsoft Lync, we had a Skype for Business, and then later on Teams, but it was not so popular in my company and in the companies around me, so my customers. Um, so if I'm thinking about Microsoft Teams nowadays, a lot of change, because we were trying Teams when it was in preview 6 years ago. And I was really, really happy because I had a tool which I can use to chat with a person in a one-to-one chat. If I think, now I need a group chat, so I need to add multiple persons, then I can go with a group chat. And if I recognize that this person, this group of people is relevant for me for a longer time, then I can create a team room, and we can go with project teams, for example. So I'm working as a consultant in many projects, and that's why it's important that I separate the conversation, and it's a conversation about more mm, more than a week. So in some cases, it's multiple years or so. And we need a location to store our documents, to have our conversation, to do task management with Planner and so on. And so the project teams are quite relevant for me in Microsoft Teams. It's also, if we are talking about collaboration with customers and partners, because as I said in Outlook, I got also emails from customers. I'm getting emails from customers nowadays as well, but it's not the huge amount as it was 10 years ago, because more and more of my customers are using Teams as well. And then at the beginning of a project, we say, okay, we need to decide if the team room is in your tenant or in our tenant, and then we can collaborate with each other there as well. If you are looking on an internal way here on the bottom of the slide, then collaborating in and between the org units is quite important. So I think if your company has different departments and you want to collaborate with each other, it would be nice that every department has its own location, but it's an open team, and then we can see what's going on there and we can collaborate with each other. And communities, I don't think that I need to explain that very much. We are going with communities out there. Um, we enjoy sharing our knowledge and learning a lot of stuff, and that's also important in a company itself, so in an internal way. And as I said at the beginning, audio and video calls, events and meetings, that's the thing Microsoft Teams was made of at the beginning. And everything else we see nowadays, every new function, that's something which is added on this base functionality. But what about this base functionality? If we are thinking about, are you ready for your next Teams meeting? I know it's Saturday, but if I'm thinking about my next Teams meeting on a Monday, I say, oh my God, because that's something the pandemic has made to me. I have one meeting after the other. So most of my colleagues are not returning to the office because they love working from home. I'm the opposite, so I love working from the office. So I meet their people, but it's not the group of people I work with in a project. So these persons are sitting at home, or maybe they're working at another location. So my company has many different locations in Germany, and so I'm not able to meet them in the same meeting room. Yes, and I'm thinking about my next Teams meeting. I'm thinking about, oh my God, it's scheduled for 30 minutes, and then my next Teams meeting will start. Will we be finished after 30 minutes so I can be able to switch to the next meeting without starting there too late? Um, and if I'm thinking about Teams meetings, then something like this. So we have a lot of people in there, and we have the rule in our company that everybody should activate his camera. If I don't activate my camera, then maybe I will be only a small bubble there, and maybe the other persons won't be able to communicate with me in the way they want, because I really love this. If you see here, we have the gallery. I see Serena Davis there. She's smiling. I'm thinking, okay, she is feeling happy at the moment, and I can match the name with the picture. That's quite important if you are collaborating with each other. And then when we want to share some information, see here, there's the whiteboard they're working on. We have the camera symbols here at the bottom. It feels very close to an in-person meeting. I know it's not the same, but I'm looking here on the screen and I feel that we are connected and we can have a good collaboration experience. But is this the truth? So here's a picture from me from my home office. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking on a screen. So we are going back here. I'm looking on this screen and I'm thinking about if Serena is feeling happy. I'm talking to Ray, for example. And this is me sitting alone in my home office or sitting alone in the office because nobody else is there. And I'm thinking about that I'm really feeling alone. I'm lonely. I know that there's nobody else around me, and even if I stand up, maybe I will not meet another person. Um, it's not the same. So how can we change the situation? And even if we are looking on the right side, maybe I'm sitting in the home office today because I was sure that nobody would be in the office. And then I'm joining a Teams meeting and I see that there are three persons in the office. And I'm really sad now that I didn't go to the office because I wanted to meet other people. I wanted to meet especially one of these three persons, for example. And now we are here in a Teams meeting, and I don't have the chance to switch to the office so fast. So that's reality, because everybody can decide in the morning if he wants to go to the office or not. And it's so easy because we meet in a Teams meeting. But if you're thinking about one Teams meeting after the other, and you're looking on this flat screen of your notebook, for example, then something is missing. It's really hard because what is missing? You can communicate with each other, you can share information. This is the best collaboration experience we can make with a technology, you would think. But the emotional aspect is missing, which you have when you are sitting in the same room with other people. And that's where Mesh for Teams comes in. So Mesh for Teams, Mesh itself, I will tell about this a little bit later, is not so new, but Mesh for Teams, especially the avatars, are the first product which will be released in this area. And as you can see here, it looks in a 3D format. So it's mixed reality we are talking about. And we will see on the next minutes that it has different steps we can take to go with mixed reality. So what about our first Mesh for Teams meeting? If you are joining a Teams meeting and you see this one, maybe you have to think about what is the difference. Now we will have a look here. What about this? Camilla looks a little bit different. And Ray and Marta here, she's here a little bit in a larger format because we have only two persons there. These are the avatars. And as you can see, we don't need to have a meeting with everybody going with an avatar. It's your decision. If you want to join a meeting, you can decide if you want to join the meeting with camera activated, without, or with an avatar. And we will see how you can do this in a few seconds. And your avatar is not a picture or so, it's moving. It has the gestures like the heart or applause or whatever we see as live reactions here in Teams. It has a lot of more gestures, but what's really important, you don't have to think about a picture, you have to think about a digital version of yourself. And we will also talk about why you should go with an avatar instead of activating your camera. But there are some reasons where it's really, really helpful. But first, let's check how Mesh for Teams will feel for you if you are going with this. So here's the Teams meeting, and then if you see this, you see the different gestures, you see here the applause, and here is the designer. So you will have a special designer where you can set your avatar. And when you join a meeting, you can select your avatar, and then here you are. And it's really important you can switch during a meeting between your avatar, the camera, or the not activated camera. So you can be really happy. And if we go back here, I think we go here, then you can see that you can have multiple avatars. And that's my recommendation. Maybe you have a more business avatar, you have a casual avatar, and then the third one, you can only have three. The third one can be for some experimental stuff with a crazy hat or whatever. So you can think about which avatar is dedicated for which meeting type. And as you see here, you can also select the virtual background. So you can go with the same functionality as you would have with an activated camera here itself. And that's it. So you will have a designer where you can select how your avatars should look like. As you can see here, we can go with body, face, hair, appearance, and wardrobe. And then you have a lot of stuff to choose. And I was really happy as I was designing my avatar. Because I said, oh my God, there's so many stuff I can choose, and it's quite close to my real person. You don't need to get with an avatar which looks the same as you in reality, but it's really nice to have it here. So, and that's where we need to talk. Why should I think about joining a meeting with my avatar? Maybe you already had the situation. I have it quite often with some of my colleagues. If you are joining a Teams meeting with activated camera and you are a person who loves walking around the room during the meeting, that's quite often in the home office. Then the other persons only see your real or your virtual background. So here I've chosen the Teams virtual background here with the purple colors. And then it doesn't help anybody that you have activated your camera because nobody will see you. In this case, go with an avatar because he will stay in the picture, and um, he will also have the gestures. It will look as the avatar is talking when you are talking, because I think that you will go with a headset, with a wireless headset, I have to say. And then an avatar is a good option. The same when you are traveling. When you are traveling and you are using your smartphone to join a Teams meeting, then quite often we have the problem that you are using your smartphone, you're walking, and then all the motion can make the others a little bit sick if it's too much. So in this case, an avatar can also be really helpful. And think about all the people who are feeling uncomfortable with activating their camera. So if I don't want to activate my camera, then maybe I will look like Anna here in this case. She will only appear in the meeting with her profile picture in a bubble. And if enough people have activated their camera, then she will be on the side and she will be one of the persons who will be forgotten. With an avatar, it's much easier for Anna because she can design the avatar. Maybe it's not looking like her in reality, so we have some special differences she will configure. And then it's more fun for her. So she will go with the avatar, she will be visible in the meeting, and maybe a person will remember, oh, okay, Anna is here. Anna, what do you think about this topic we are talking about? With only a small bubble on the side, it's much harder for the other person to think about that Anna is joining the meeting as well. And that was a real problem for me at the beginning of the pandemic, bad light conditions. So I was sitting at home and I had the window behind me. So everybody could only see um, a black outline of myself. And in this case, it's not helpful that I'm activating my camera. An avatar can solve this problem because I know in my case, I was switching the location of my desk at home, but in other situations you cannot change the environment, and then you have to deal with the situation. And for this one, it's also good. And the last one, that's only something um, I was thinking first, but I'm telling you here at last, because that the situation that you have one meeting after the other, and that maybe you don't have time for lunch. That's really hard because in this case, um, you don't have time to eat something. And for me, if it's 2 p.m. and I didn't get something to eat, it's really hard for me, but it's also really hard for every other person who has a meeting with me. And in this case, when I don't have a chance to do it in some other way, I can think about that I want to eat something during a meeting. Maybe this is an internal meeting, not a customer meeting, I would think up. And then I would go with my avatar because the avatar is visible. I can eat my stuff without the other people watching me. And if I'm ready, then I can switch back to the activated camera. So let's talk about where Mesh for Teams comes from before we talk about how you can start your journey with Mesh for Teams. So this is one of my favorite pictures when I'm thinking about Mesh itself, because there was the Microsoft Ignite in spring 2021. So it's now 2 years ago. And there, Alex Kipman was doing a keynote, and he was talking about Microsoft Mesh about mixed reality. And here I have the screenshot that Mesh loves Microsoft Teams, because this was the announcement that Microsoft Teams will be the first application where we can choose and experience mixed reality. And he was talking about his vision, and his vision was about different topics, and they were very close to our collaboration topic. So think about that you have a group of people who are doing some construction for a car, for example. That's a big picture here. Then it would be really cool that we don't need to be at the same location, but we see a digital twin of our construction in the middle of the room. And then we also see everybody joining this meeting with his avatar, but not only with an avatar as we now have it with the avatars in Mesh for Teams. It's an avatar in a 3D format, and it feels as this person is standing in the same room as I. 2 years ago with Alex Kipman, that was shown with a HoloLens, because it was important for this situation that we see the room we are standing in. So we see the digital twin of this car, for example. We see everything around, and maybe we will have a combination so we can change something at this construction, and we can walk around this stuff. And as you see here, these avatars look quite close to the avatars we see in Mesh for Teams now. So it's not completely like reality. It's a little bit different if you look on these smaller pictures. So if you're looking, for example, on this the left one, you see two women, and in the middle a globe. We may have a lot of data there. I'm not sure. What's the story behind this? We have the left woman who is standing in her living room with a child sleeping next door. And she gets a call of the other woman who is standing in a forest. She is checking a machine. And then she calls the other person because she says, okay, we need to talk to each other. We have a problem. I need somebody who solves this problem together with me. And then they see the same situation. They see the same data, and they can collaborate with each other. On the right side, we also see a learning situation. So somebody wants to learn how to draw special signs, and the other person can help him, and it feels as they're at the same location. So feeling the emotional aspect is the stuff we want to focus here on. And we have a new way how to collaborate. So, and this yesterday I got the email that Altspace VR is saying goodbye. So I only want to tell you a little bit about Altspace VR, because for me it's important that you understand that this was the platform Mesh for Teams was inspired by. So if we are going with Altspace VR, this was a public available platform for everybody to doing events in virtual reality. So everybody could say, okay, I have a meeting, or I want to do some kind of a concert or whatever. And then you design your world. So your virtual world was designed by you. You said what you needed. Do you need a building? Do you need only a small room? Or do you need an open area with some grass, with some buildings and so on? So you have a really, really cool platform there. And then you was deciding if it's an open event so everybody can join, or do you have a private one and you need to invite the other people. So if you are talking about a Teams meeting, it's quite often that we need to invite the other people. And in this case here, if you joined an event, you needed to select your avatar. You could customize your avatar, and the configuration area was quite similar to the one we saw in the GIF for Mesh for Teams. And then I really liked this platform because you were entering the event, and then it looked like this, and it was a little bit like in reality. So think about that you join an event, you are far away from everybody, and you only hear a whisper. A loud whisper, yes, because there are a lot of persons, but you don't understand what they are talking about. And if you come closer and closer, as we see here, these two persons here standing at the table, then you start understanding the people. And if you are very close to them, then you can join the conversation. And maybe there's the point where you say, okay, um, let's go over. Maybe I want to see the other two there behind the table, and I want to join their conversation. Then that's also possible. And that's really cool because you walk around in the room and you have the same feeling as you would do this in reality. You could go with Outspace VR with using an app on your PC, but my favorite was going with a VR headset. So I have a Meta Quest 2, and I was joining these meetings, and I can promise you, if you did not use the VR headset so far, if you are doing this the first time, you will forget that you maybe stand in your living room. You will have the feeling that you are in this event. You will want to walk over to different persons, and that's where the story begins for me. Because now let's think how Mesh for Teams can look like instead of going with only the camera symbols and the avatars instead of them. This can be your immersive meeting in Microsoft Teams. So a person who wants to join with the PC or smartphone or tablet can do this. But if you are going with a VR headset, then for you it can feel as this. You can walk over to a group of people and to talk to them. You can go over to a whiteboard, and that's nothing else as the whiteboard app we already know. But you will walk over to the whiteboard, and then will be able to pin post-its to the whiteboard. You can write something, you can draw something. And that's really cool because I love this situation when we need to draw something and I only have my mouse or my touchpad here on the notebook, and I'm not a good designer, but with this stuff I cannot draw anything special, so nobody will recognize what I've drawn there. With the option to go in a virtual reality and to do this with my fingers and draw something, this will be so much better. So here's the whiteboard a little bit closer. So as you can see here, the person is joining with the avatar and is doing something with the post-its. We can stand around this whiteboard and have a discussion about our brainstorming session. And this is really, really cool. And also if we are going with a Teams meeting itself, think about virtual meeting rooms. There's no problem anymore that a meeting room is booked for a special moment and you need it too. With a virtual meeting room, it's available for everybody at the same time because it's only some kind of a template. And then we can join the meeting room. You have these persons who are here in the virtual reality. They're sitting in the room. And we have a screen, somebody's sharing his screen, and we have the other persons who join the meeting with camera activated or without camera activated. So they are going with their notebook or another device. And some fun stuff on the right side as well. I know it's not the first thought, but it can be important if you, for example, have a company without so many offices or chances to meet each other in person. Then maybe some stuff to have some fun for meetings or beside meetings can be really important as well. So let's start your journey with Microsoft Teams. What do you need? As I said, you can join a meeting with your avatar with a notebook or a smartphone or tablet. But my recommendation is try to go with a VR headset if you have the chance to do so, because it's a complete different feeling. And this is for me the 100% experience. And I want you to get an idea of this. And if you don't have, so then every other device will be able to deal with the new stuff. And it's really important. Not everybody needs to have a VR headset. Maybe this is for the persons to say, okay, for me, the emotional aspect is quite important and I want to have a VR headset. And other persons say, okay, it's not so important for me. Then I want to join the meeting as it was in the past. And we have a cool mix there. So, and last but not least, what can you do to establish special teams in your company? There are a few questions you have to answer, not you alone, but you and your company. So, how you can enable your colleagues or your employees to collaborate in immersive environment. So, do they need some training? Do they need some stuff? How mixed reality is working, or do you need some kind of a guideline for the new way of collaboration? So I know a virtual reality meeting is a little bit harder. So maybe you cannot have back-to-back meetings in a VR world. So maybe there's a maximum amount of immersive meetings per day, which is part of your guideline. And maybe you also have a guideline for styling the avatars, especially the business ones. So maybe already a special virtual background for your company is available, or you say, okay, we need to have a real business dress for this business avatar, and the casual one, it's up to you. But think about if you need such a guideline. And that's a question I'm asked quite often. How many VR headsets do I need in my company? Which employees will get a VR headset? And I have the consultant answer. It depends, because it depends on the employees. So if not everybody wants to go with a VR headset, that's quite easy. And it depends on the situation. How do I get a VR headset? If you only buy two once, for example, and you have to book this VR headset to get a chance to use it in a meeting, and this VR headset is the office and you want to use it from the home office, then maybe it won't work, because I don't want to walk over to the office, get my VR headset, go back to the home office, use it and get it back again because it's booked by another person 2 hours later. Then it doesn't work. So these are considerations you have to make. And you have also to consider if you want to use Mesh for Teams for external collaboration. So what about your customers? Do your customers understand if you are joining a meeting as an avatar? Or will they be confused? Or will it be a bad impact on your customer relationship? Think about this as well. And last but not least, who will prepare the immersive meeting rooms for internal and maybe, if you decide this, for external collaboration? So is this a new skill your internal communication needs to learn, or is it a new skill for your IT department, or will everybody be able to prepare an immersive meeting room and share it with other people as some kind of a template? So a few questions you need to answer. Don't need to answer them all at once, but you should keep them in mind, because otherwise you will have a new technology and the people will not know how to deal with these new possibilities. For me, if I want to wrap up, it's a cool new addition for meetings. We don't need to go with this every time, but as I said, there are some special situations where it's a good option. And for me, it's these three ones. So for creative activities, if we want to do brainstorming. I recognize in the past when we are standing in the same room and we are doing our brainstorming, for example, at a real whiteboard, it's working so much better as we are sitting in a Teams meeting. Everybody is at a different location, and we are doing with the whiteboard app. And that's not a problem of the whiteboard app itself. It's a problem of us because we are not behaving in the same way in a digital meeting as in the physical meeting. And with Mesh for Teams, we have this emotional part. We are feeling as we are in the same room, and then it's working better. So that's my experience where I said, okay, brainstorming, it's something I want to do here. The other one, and that's a huge area here, it has a reason why it's here in the middle, is about socializing. So yes, we can communicate with each other, but if we want to do some socializing, we want to meet each other, and we don't have the option to meet at the same location, then Mesh for Teams can be really, really helpful. We will need special immersive rooms because I wouldn't go with a meeting room environment. I would go with an open area, as we see here. But then we can do some kind of onboarding sessions. We can do some kind of team events and so on. But it's really important if you can meet in person, then I would do this at the moment. And here, the third one, that's for everything else than socializing. That's for our meetings, maybe in project teams, meetings with customers, and so on. If we don't have the chance to meet each other in person, then from time to time, I would use Mesh for Teams as an alternative to in-person meetings. And then we have another way how to get information and share information. So here at the end, there are a lot of links. So for the events from Microsoft or the Teams blog, and also a link to the Microsoft roadmap you can find here. So this is to get more updates because the roadmap and the Teams blog, you get so many new stuff there nearly every day. Not every day, but nearly every day. And now it's the time that you can go to the next level of collaboration with Mesh for Teams. Thank you very much. And now I'm curious if there are any questions.